Good evening, everyone. Good morning, everyone. It's 1 and 46 a.m. November 20, 2023. So, last topic we discussed about the how to solve the standard deviation and variance in the group and ungroup data. Today, videos we will discuss about z-scores. Okay, z-scores here defined also known as standard scores. Again, a z-scores also known as standard score. Measure how many standard deviation an observation is above or below the mean. A positive z-scores measure the number of standard deviation score is above the mean, and the negative z-scores means the number of standard deviation or scores below the mean. Z-score can be computed as this formula. Z-scores where X as your scores, specific scores, and you have the mean, and here is your standard deviation. Okay? It means that, example, if you have the mean of 50, the mean, and your score is 60, this is your score. Therefore, you are you have you are excuse me, you are above the mean because mean is 50 and your score is 60. Then you are above the mean. Why? Because you are in the plus 1 SD. Okay? Plus 1 SD ka. Where imuhang standard deviation is standard deviation is 10. So 1 plus SD. Okay? Kung kapag imong scores is 40, therefore minus 1 SD ka because below the mean man ka, which is 40 man ang ginapasabot. Now dira ma-identify kung ang score sa imong friend o scores nimo sa exam, then kuha ang mean ana, then standard deviation ana, therefore ma-identify nimo kung duol ba ka sa mean or layo ba ka sa mean, or mas lamang ba ka sa mean, above ba ka or below ba ka sa mean imong scores. Okay? So before that, let me share to you the importance and purpose of z-scores. Z-scores, also known as standard scores or z-values, are statistical measure, again, a statistical measure that express the relationship of the data points to the mean of the group data. So, no? They are important and serve several purposes in statistical analysis. Bulol-bulol na good ta. Okay. The second is normalization and standardization. Standardization. These scores standardize data, transforming it into a common scale like mean of 0 and the standard deviation of 1. This makes it easier to compare data that initially may have different units or scales. The third is outliers identification. Z-scores help identify outliers in datasets. Data points with high or low Z-scores are considered um, unusual compared the rest of the data and may flag as potential outliers. Okay? And probability and percentiles. These scores are associated with percentiles in a standard normal distribution. This allows for the calculation of the probability that a random variable from the distribution is less than or greater than a particular value. So, comparison across different distribution, The other one is the z-score facilitate comparison between the data points from different distribution. Comparison between data points. Ano ginapasot sabot dira? By transforming the data into standard units, researcher can compare scores from different tests, assessment, and measurement. Sorry for that. Assessment of relative standing. These scores indicate how far a particular data points in from the mean in terms of standard deviation. Oh, okay. Muna ginadira na assessment of relative standing. Positive z-scores indicate above the mean, while negative z-scores indicate the value below the mean. So remember that, ha? So another is the data analysis and interpretation. Z-scores provide a common metric for interpreting data. They allow researcher and analysis to understand the relative position of individual data points within the data sets. No? And then, quality control. In manufacturing and quality control processes, these scores can be used to monitor and control variation. Values falling outside a specific range of these scores may indicate a process that is out of control. No? In research and clinical settings, in fields like psychology and medicine, these scores are often used to compare individual scores to a population mean. Okay? Aiding in the interpretation of test results and clinical assessment. Overall, the use of this score enhances the interpretability and comparability of data in various fields, providing a standardized framework for analysis and decision making. Okay, so you will understand this without the further ado. Let's solve to understand the nature of numbers related to z-scores. Example, John got a 76 mark in statistic test. Again, John got a John got an 76 in his statistic test. Okay? So, tanaw ninyo, si John naka 76. But we don't know kung taas ba ni na score or gamay. Right? Bagsak ba ni or dili? So, if the mark of the whole class, again, mark of the whole class had the mean of 52, therefore, the mean is 52. So, kasi masuggest ninyo, diba mas dako man ang scores ni John compare sa mean? But, let's solve it. And don't forget the standard deviation, which is 8. What was John's standard scores? And we have, okay, again, what was John's standard scores? So we have the formula here, x John test minus your mean, the mean or the mark of the whole class, which is the mean, divided by the standard deviation. Let's substitute 76 minus 52 divided by 8. So, the answer is 3. Therefore, usa may masuggest ani, it means that the scores also known, so mo ni siya, no? The higher the standard score, the further above the mean. and the score is indicating better performance relative to the group. So, therefore, ang z-scores niya is 3. So, 52 plus 8 plus 8 plus 8 is equal to, which is 76. 76. So, kung tulo ka buok, ang which mean, again, ang z-scores niya kay 3, therefore, ang standard deviation kay 8, ikatuloon nimo ang 8, which sa mean, therefore, lamang siyag tulo. Tulo ka standard deviation. No? So, therefore, ang score ni John, which is above the mean, and indicated that a better performance. Okay? Nana na siya. Ha? So, what was John's standard scores? Which is 3. Okay? Another example. Let me erase this. So, nasabta ng standard score. No. Example number 2. Given the mean of 55, therefore, your mean is 55, and the standard deviation is 8. What scores correspond to 2 standard deviation? 2 standard deviation above the mean. So, therefore, we have the formula, right? X minus mean divided by standard deviation. Ang gihatag lang sa tuwa ang mean, which is 55. Ang standard deviation, same ra na sila sign ani na denoted, which is 8. And what scores correspond? Again, the problem is they are asking about what score correspond to 2 standard deviation above the mean. Again, above the mean. So, therefore, ang ZDI nato dira kay plus 2. Above the mean man. From the word above, and duwa pa jud. Pero kung mingon kog below the mean, then 2 standard deviation below the mean, therefore, negative 2 ang Z. Pero ang giingon man niya diri, 2 standard deviation above the mean. So, therefore, ang Z nimo kay positive 2. So, ang ginapangita, scores mismo sa student. Okay, let's substitute this. We have the 2, positive 2 is equal to, which is atong X kay wala. What scores corresponds? Then, atong mean kay 55. And standard deviation is 8. So, to solve this, is easy. First, you are going to use the cross multiply. So, nga na siya 1 daan. So, 2 times 8 and copy the equal sign here, and then 1 times x. So, 1 times x minus 55. So, and then 2 times 8, which is 16, and 1 distributive property, 1 times x, which is x, 1 times, beware of the negative sign. So, positive times negative, negative. Then 1 times 5, 55. And then, let's continue. 16 is equal to x minus 55. To find the x, use the subtraction property of equality. Addition property of equality. Kay ipag plus man ta, addition. Para wala na ni siya, ma-zero na. Then, kung mag-plus ka dire, mas baayo, ibutang na lang nato dire para mas masabtan. Plus kag 55, mag-plus po kag 55. Okay? So, negative 55 plus og plus 55, therefore, mabili na lang kay si x. So, 55 plus 16, which is 71. Therefore, your scores correspond the two standard deviation above the mean, which is 71. This is the answer. So, naay times na wala ni siya, then gihatag ni, naapoy time na wala ni siya, gihatag ni, naapoy time na wala ni siya, pero naa ni siya, naapoy time, naaning tulo, pero wala ni. So, bali-balihon ka. Pero let's check, no? So, we have the mean of 55, right? Then, two standard deviation, atong z is 2 standard deviation above the mean. So, mag-plus kog 8, kay 8 man ang standard deviation, plus 8 plus 8 kadua, kay 2 man ang positive man, pasaka. So, add jud ko. Kung negative siya, mag-minus ko. Pero muna akong baseline, 55. Kaya ang mean man nato 55. So, i-check na to. 55 plus 8 plus 8, which is 71. Therefore, tama itong answer, 71. So, ana lang na siya ha. Pag-interpret, I hope nasabtan. So, example number 3. Erase ta. So, erase. Then delete. And then number 3. Okay. So, say nakita ninyo. Ha. And the question is, given the following data, in which subject did Roel perform poor? It means sa math, English, mape, asa diri ang mas poor pa jud. Kanang dili kayo siya, murag dili kayo nagapaningkamot or dili kayo inclined sa logical, verbal, or kinesthetic, ba dili kinesthetic. So, si Roel, wala takabalo. Kasi ang weakness, which is poor, sa iyang performance in every subject. But we know the scores of Roel and the mean and the standard deviation. So, ang pangitaon lang dahil nato si z-scores. Kung again, ang z-scores, kung positive, which means above the mean, right? The mean. Kung negative, below the mean. Okay? So, the more mo taas ang z, therefore, mas better. No? Better yung performance. Kung the more is negative, nagapalayo sa mean, which is poor ang iyahang performance. Okay? So, let's start. Isa-isa natin yung next solve. So, for math, Z-math, which is 90 minus 1.5 divided by baliktad. So, ayaw yung kawala. Minus 85 divided by 1.5, which is, so diretso na ta, 90 minus 85 divided by 1.5, which is 3.33. So, 333, dagan kaayo. So, pwede ra mag-ana na lang ka. Okay? Understandable na pasabot, infinite 3. So, let's go to solve the English. So, Roel's score in English is 95 minus the mean. Mean is 97 and divided by standard deviation is 2. So, let's solve. So mabantayan pa lang ninyo daan diri sa mas dako ang mean, compare sa scores. So therefore negative jud ang kalabasan ani, di ba no? So let's try 95 minus 97 which is negative 2. Then negative 2 divided by 2 which is negative 1. Oops. Nga negative no. Again, kung negative gani below which means poor. Pero wala pa ta kabalo sa, pero nga natay hint ang English. Pero let's try with MAPE. 94 minus 92 divided by 1.75. So makita dai nimo na positive jud ang result ani, no? Kung positive, therefore mas better. Kung negative, which is poor or below the mean. So try nato 94 minus 92 divided by 1.5, 1.75 rather, which is 1.14. So therefore, the conclusion is that Ruel performed, which subject did Ruel perform poor, which is no other than English. Kay below the mean, which is negative 1 standard deviation. No? Kuyaw kaayo. Mo ni negative. Therefore, marag naglisod siya sa English. So, even though 95 yung scores sa nakita ninyo, makaingon day mo, ay, hina siya math kay 90 ang scores. Dili. Tanawon jud nimo ang standard deviation. Isapod na siya. That's why it's more on prediction. Gamit ang standard deviation, measure of variation, unsa kakalayo sa mean. Unsa kakalayo sa mean. Dili pasabot, dako siya scores, kana na. Di pasabot, kanina mas bright siya. Nabugo siya math or dili siya hadog math. Dili pasabot ana. Magtan-aw jud ka sa standard deviation, isa pud na ka shortcut para ma-predict ra nimo. The more ang standard deviation dako, it means layo kaayo ka sa mean. Okay? Kung gamay ang standard deviation like this, therefore, mas dako kag score sa mean. Pero ang pangutana, i-reverse daw nato. Which subject did Ruel perform better? Which is ang math. Better. Mas howd siya sa math. No? Pero sa English, dili siya howd. Okay? Then, howd siya math and the same time, napo siya talent sa sayaw-sayaw or music. Pero sa English, wala dyan siya talent. Okay? Again, dili mag-base sa scores. Mag-base sa standard deviation. And then, sa z-scores jod. Sa z. Result sa z. For finalize. For checking. Which is negative. So, below the mean. No? Muna siya. Okay? Na-gets? Okay. So, another problem. So, erase na siya. So, muna na nakagamit ang z-scores, no? Sa mga statistics, sa mga business, clinical, and psychologies, and other form of studies. Because statistics is the most powerful tools. Okay, here, nakabantayan ninyo, complete the table. So, sa number 1, ang wala sa iyaha, which is ang z, right? Ang number 2, ang wala sa iyaha, which is ang scores. Ang 3, ang wala sa iya, ang mean. Ang 4, ang wala sa iyaha, ang mean also. Ang 5, ang wala sa iyaha, which is ang standard deviation. This is your mean. This is your standard deviation. This is your z-scores. Okay? Siya nagaingon kung above ba ka or below sa mean. No? Let's start number 1. Ang ginapangita, z. So, simple lang. Follow lang ka sa formula. X minus divide, take that. So 9.5 minus 5 divided by 3. Automatic na, di magdugay-dugay, calculator dayon. Minus 5 for divided by 3, which is 1.5. Therefore 1.5 ni siya dire. Okay? And then number 2 problem, z is equal to x minus the mean, then divided by standard deviation. And number 2, you don't have the x, but you have the mean. So ang style day ani niya kay negative 10 minus, copy ang minus kay nga may minus diri sa formula. So copy ka sa minus. So beware sa na negative, isabay ibutang gyapon nimo ang negative 10. Then ang x wala, so butang kag x. And then ang standard deviation which is 9. Then ang z-scores is 0.1. So gigingon ako cross multiply, right? So but before that, tarungon sa jud nato ni. Okay? So padayon ta. 0.1 is equal to x negative times negative, which is positive 10 na siya, then 9. So pwede na ka mag cross multiply. So padayon 0.1 times 9 is equal to nga amunay 1 daan, automatic na siya as a fraction, no? Kay identity sa fraction kay 1. Then identity sa division kay 1, ang identity sa multiplication kay 1. Kay 1 times 2 is equal to 2 ra magyapon itself. That's why ang sa fraction identity niya kay 1. So constant na. Kung addition o subtraction, ang identity niya kay 0. Okay? So 1 times x plus 10, pwede gani x plus 10 na lang yung isulat. So dirita 0.1 times 9, which is 0.9. And x plus 10, use the subtraction inequality of property, minus 10, then minus 10. So therefore, x na lang mabilin dire, wala na. Then negative 10 plus plus 0.9, which is negative 9.1. Therefore, ang answer ani kay negative 9.1. So, ana lang na siya. Okay? And then, next is number 3. So, we have the x, 32.1. And we don't have the mean. So, ulat lang nato na. And standard deviation is 7. And the z-scores which is 2.3. So, cross multiply ra gyapon na siya 1 daan. So, 2.3 times 7 is equal to 32.1 minus mean. So, wala na nagibot yan ang 1, no? Kaya the identity man. So, mura gyapon ang kalabasan ani, no? Sa dire. Okay? So, pila man ni? 2.3 times 7, which is 16.1. Then 32.1 minus mean. So para makuha si mean, you need to, so depende sa inyo, lahi magud ni. Ang uban kay ikuan nila diri para ma-positive, pero ang style man gud nako, which is mogamit ko og subtraction inequality of property. So mag-minus ko dire og 32.1 para matanggal ni siya, no? Kay positive 32.1 minus 32.1, which is 0 na lang. Ang mabili na lang kay negative, na negative mean. And then kung nag-minus ka, mag-minus pug ka dire sa pikas, minus 32.1. So pila na siya? Negative 32.1 plus 16.1, which is 16 na lang. And then ang gusto man jud nato is positive ang ato ang mean, wala may negative na mean. Therefore, use the division property of equality. So therefore, mag-i-divide na ko og negative 1, then i-divide og negative 1. Nganong negative 1 naman kay identity man sa fraction sa operation sa division kay 1. So negative times negative, positive mean na siya, no? And then 16 times negative 16 divided by negative 1, which is negative 16. Again, bawal na ang mean nato na ay negative dire. Pero ang result niya pwede na ay negative. So therefore, ang mean niya kay negative 16. Okay? So same ra gyapon ang process dire, kamo na mag-try. And kamo na po mag-try dire. Same ra gyapon sa pag-solve nato dire sa number 2. Okay? Ana ra na siya, guys. Unta nga amin na subterm standard deviation sa pag-solve. So, inana ha. Delete na ako ni siya. So, naa diri sa another problem na pod. Dagan junig problem si kuan ba. Exercise naman day ni siya, no? Exercise. So, try lang nato, no? Para makabalo ang uban. The score of Mary in Chinese test is 1.2 and her standard deviation, so sulat ayon ka. So ang x day niya kay 1.2. Then ang standard deviation niya, kaana man ang forma, denoted by and her standard scores man di ay. From the word standard scores is z na siya. Okay? Z na siya. And standard scores is 0.8. In English test is 0.8. In what subject did she perform better? Again, the standard scores of Mary in Chinese test is namali kog interpret, pasensyahan na. So yung standard scores mo na siya ang Z. So sa Z sa Chinese test which is 1.2, right? And then sa Z score, standard score sa English test is, so English is 0.8. In what subject did perform better? Again, better. The more positive, kapag positive ang Z-scores, pasabot ana above the mean, right? Kung negative, which means below the mean, which is poor, dili kay better. Pero ang pangutana, pareha man sila positive, no? Ang kuan ani, which is asa diri ang mas higher. The more higher ang imong Z-score, the more better ka mo perform sa the rest. So asa mas dako 0.8, 0.2, which is 0.2, no? 1.2, which is ang, so therefore Mary in Chinese test is that she performed better. No, how check Chinese. Okay? So mga Chinese, mga how nagmat. Charot. Okay, also known as Z-scores. Okay? Are measure of how far the particular data points in from the mean of the group of data points. So 1.2 is greater than 0.8, right? So Mary performed relatively better in the Chinese test compared to the English test. The higher the standard score, the further above the mean. And the score is indicating better performance relative to the group. So, muna na pag-interpret na sa result sa z-scores. No? Okay, nasabtan. No, nasabtan na. Another problem na pod. Erase na pod ni siya. Guys, murag alas 2 naman jud no. So padayon na lang guro ko ani ugma. So try na lang ninyo. Gamitan na lang pud inyong best na pag-solve ani o dali ra man kay ni siya. Dali ra kay ni siya i-solve. Awa o. In what subject did K perform poor? So sa grammar ba or sa speech? Natay scores, right? Natay scores. 82 is 65. K and Ed result in the grammar speech test among pupils are in the below. So ang pangutana, in what subject did Miss K perform poor? Oops, speech sir. Kay 65 yung speech na score. Mas dako yung grammar. Kay poor man. Tanawa sa ligyang standard deviation. The more ang standard deviation, it means layo ka sa mean. So possible grammar ni. So grammar ang iyahang poor. Question number 1. So grammar ni siya. So mata-mata na lang ni sir no. O mabantayan man juday na ako na sa standard deviation. Standard deviation man akong ilhanan. It means layo kay ka sa mean. So, importante ang standard deviation. No, na-appreciate na ninyo. In what subject did Ed perform better? Si Ed. Oops, naka 77 o naka 70. Pero tanawang standard deviation or tanawang standard deviation, gamay lang standard deviation. Therefore, possible sa speech siya better. Sa speech. So guys, kani ako is prediction lang ni siya. No? Pero mag-follow jud gyapon ta sa formula. Kabalo naman mo interpret, no? Define the total standard scores of each of the two students. So, pangitaw na nimo ang total standard scores. Gamit lang gyapon ang formula. Who has the best overall performance in test? Gamit na gyapon kag formula ana. No? Mura na siya. Who was the best overall performance in test? Overall performance. So therefore, i-plus din mo ni sila. I-plus ang mga scores ana. Then, gamiton dayon ni kani dayon na formula. Then, find the total standard scores of each of the two students. Okay, again. So, wala may gibutang diri no. Na pilang ang z-scores. Find the total z-scores. So, ang z-scores pud ani. So, total scores anang z-scores nila. Common na siya to find the C. Okay? So, that's all for this video and how to solve and interpret the z-scores. Thank you. So, appeal niya siya sa semi-final. Labi na sa mathematics na modern world and then also sa elective 3 in Math 105 na ako ng mga IT, Theology, and BSED Math. Mga third year or second year. Okay, thank you so much. Bye-bye.